Hi, loves, for this session of Sacred Conversations. It is an absolute joy, a pleasure, and an honoring to introduce this incredible young woman, Natalia Fernandez, who is currently in Scotland. She's American, very international. Um, I tell you, she's got so many credentials. She's studying an MBA in sustainable business and also has a lot of wisdom around conflict resolution. That the connection that we've made is that she is the founder of a not-for-profit organization called Period. And Period are doing the most beautiful work at the moment, and they're also really focusing a lot on PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And those of you who don't know this, we'll share a little about PMDD in a moment. But I also have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And when I met Natalia, I was like, wow, if I knew now, or if I knew now what she knows, it would be a very different journey and experience. So I was really wanting to have some time with her so that she could share her wisdom around this, and just hope that, if anyone's watching that also has PMDD or knows anyone with PMD, that you please share this and connect with Period. We'll put some links and some contacts on the Facebook and Instagram posts that this will be a part of. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's so beautiful to reconnect with you in this way. And what a wonderful thing social media can be, because this is how we met.
Amazing, truly. I was like, wow, there's really a positive power of social media. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have some questions that I'd like to open with, and they're similar questions to that I ask each guest, just so as we have a synchronicity and a sacredness to the container of these calls. And as we both know, our own focus is a lot around menstruation. So, Natalia, I'd love to ask you, can you remember the first time you bled, and how was that for you?
Yeah, so I remember I was quite a late bloomer with my period. So I think I was around 16, 15. And yeah, it was like terrifying. Absolutely. It's like, how do I put on a pad? How do I put on a tampon? All of these things. There was so much pain associated with it, just awful cramping. But yeah, it was like, all right, I guess this is what womanhood looks like. It's a little terrifying, but thankfully I have a lot of sisters that helped me. So
Yeah, awesome. And I'm wondering if that, like, those moments of like, you said it was terrifying, and you may have perhaps been uncertain of what to do with the tampons and the pads and things. I'm wondering, like, do you feel like they've been, apart from the PMDD, which we'll lead into, but like those first moments, the way that yeah, you felt those sensations in your body, do you feel that they've affected your relationship with your moon time moving on later in life, that you've often felt a bit of that come through when you've been bleeding?
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, now I'm in a place of just understanding so much more. And I think I'm able to appreciate it instead of it just being like a negative aspect, like, oh, I have to deal with this now. So yeah, no, I think that there's a definitely that connection with my moon cycle and all of that. And it's definitely been quite the journey, right? Since the beginning of having periods and coming to this point now.
Yeah. How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, not at all. So I am 23, but I'm turning 24 on Christmas. So I'm a Christmas baby. Yeah.
So super young. And Ellen, at what point did you first notice that there was something a little different around the way you were cycling to, say, your friends at school? I'm presuming that PMDD was something you discovered quite young.
Yeah. So I would say that at least in the first years of when I was menstruating, maybe I just didn't notice as much. Like I was always quite like moody, leading up to my period. And I remember as well, like I would just get so angry and very irritable. But I just thought like, okay, yeah, that's PMS, or oh, are you on your period type of deal. So I definitely if it wasn't definitely PMDD, I definitely had PMS, but I would say in 2017 is when I like kind of like I had a self-diagnosis, and I also talked through it with my dad, who's an MD. He also used to do like OB/GYN things. Um, so it was, yeah, I guess 3 years ago that I kind of found out like what's severe PMS, because I was in Spain at the time, and it was just like really, really, really bad, and I was like, this isn't just PMS. So yeah, it was a quick Google search, and severe PMS showed PMDD, and that's when I really started this kind of journey. So
Yeah, yeah. For our sisters that are watching that don't know, could you give a little a rundown, maybe something? Yeah, I'll leave that for a moment. But could you give maybe a rundown of the differences and some of the symptoms that, and what to recognize, perhaps if they are suffering themselves? And yeah, I'd love to hear your view on this.
absolutely. So for me at least, and I know a lot of women that menstruate as well, experience more. It's more of a mental difficulty rather than a physical, right? So there are a lot of physical symptoms that you can have, but for me at least, what really speaks to me is, yeah, having that like just terrible irritability. Like it's really hard to maintain your relationships during the 2 weeks of your luteal phase, right? So there's the follicular phase and then the luteal phase. And the luteal phase are the 2 weeks leading up to your period. The follicular phase is the 1 week that you're having your period. And then the following week is that kind of perfect time where nothing's going wrong with your hormones,
Yeah,
where you're really able to succeed in life.
in life. Yeah,
But but yeah, so for me, symptoms can be even so serious as suicide ideation. I've definitely had that, and I think that's what kind of showed me the severity of the situation. It's like this isn't just PMS. Like, you feel this like loneliness. You have just you don't have the same interest in things you would normally be interested in. It's like depression basically. But it's all these symptoms, right, that are bottled up into one. And yeah, I would say for me, and for everyone watching, I think, yeah, just kind of checking in with your mental health and seeing where the pattern is, if there's a pattern, right? Because a lot of people are like, maybe I'm bipolar, maybe it's just general anxiety, but it's really important to journal and track those symptoms so that you can figure out if it really is PMDD. So yeah, I would say yeah, suicide ideation is a big one, and not a lot of people experience it, right? And it's not every month. A lot of people have varying symptoms from month to month. It just really depends on your environment, what medications you're taking, what lifestyle changes you have in place. So yeah.
yeah. Thank you for yeah, being so open to share that. I know it's a very vulnerable thing to share that we have suicidal tendencies, and it's
Yeah.
something that I have found that, how do we explain that? How do we share that with our loved ones that are wanting to support us in these times, when there's still a piece that we're aware of the impact that it will have on them? And you touched on relationships in that little phase. How have you found that PMDD has impacted your relationships in that time?
Honestly, I think it's Oh my gosh, it's just affected so much, so much. It's, with my relationships with my family members, with friends, with romantic relationships as well, right? I think that there was definitely, I think PMDD, there's a huge link between trauma and having PMDD, and of course, we don't have enough research on it to really like go into the nitty grittiness of it all. But I think that, oh my gosh, it's huge. I would say that, especially in my romantic relationships, the ones I've had previous to today, it's just, yeah, it's really, really, really tough because it's like you're not able to explain while you're experiencing these symptoms, right? During that luteal phase, you're not able to explain to others how is the best way to support me in these times, because you cannot communicate that because you're in hell. Like, it's just really bad, it's really hard. So, oh my gosh, it's relationships and PMDD is so, so, so hard. And my biggest advice is just to educate the people around you and educate yourself more. And I'm even guilty too of just being like, okay, well, yeah, I have like these 2 weeks, whatever, but there's just so much information that you really have to dig for because it's just not super readily available. Yeah, it's just really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. It leads me to want to share with our girlfriends here. Natalia has Period, which is a fantastic Instagram account. And perhaps, are you also on Facebook under Period, or is it mainly Instagram? So both.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter account as well for it, YouTube, LinkedIn. So we got all of them.
All the things. Now, there was a
Yes.
piece that I hadn't seen up until this afternoon, and it's called The Minute Monologues. Is that right? The Minute Monologues.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. The PMDD minute monologues.
the
Yep.
PMDD Minute Monologues. And there's been so many times, Natalia, where I've felt like filming myself. And, I'm okay to be vulnerable and I'm okay to put it out there. But when I saw that piece today, and I encourage everyone to go into Period and have a look at this, it was like, wow, this is probably like something that needs to be included in, like, I don't know, if you want to date me, watch this first, kind of, or if you want to know more about me, check this out because it'll explain to you what's going on. So um, you seem to be able to, in 1 minute, show the rage, the grief, the anger, the sadness, the despair, the suicidal tendency, like all of the things. My first question was, were you having a PMDD flare up at that particular time?
So for me, so how the PMDD monologues originated, right? So I went to an arts high school, so it's something that's very unique to the U.S. in general, right? It's not just High School Musical,
Yeah.
um, but yeah. So I was a drama major. So I love to act. I absolutely love to act. The only reason why I didn't pursue it as a career is as an exchange student in Denmark, I fell in love with social sciences. But anyhow, so for me, when I started Period, I really wanted to use art as like the foundation for sharing those stories. And I knew it didn't want to be like just myself, right? Like I didn't want it to just be featuring myself. But of course, to start off, you have to
Yeah.
who's better than yourself. So at that moment, I was in Miami, taking care of my grandparents, and at that moment, I want to say I was definitely on my luteal phase for sure. Um, but that was kind of acting. That was acting, but that was pulling in right to all of those feelings. And I think like it was almost like an out of body experience, to be
Yeah.
quite honest, recording. And because of course, like I had just a bunch of stuff written down, and I was like, while on that in that phase, I was like just writing down everything I was feeling, everything I had been feeling, everything I've been bottling up that I haven't really been able to express to other people. And then when I was recording the video over and over and over again, I just had these direct, like, just flashbacks and connections and these raw emotions that came from these just like terrible times in my life, with past relationships, like I wish I could tell you this, like it's like almost like a screaming for help, right? So yeah, so I would say it was definitely performing it was definitely a very real experience for me, right? Like it wasn't like just like me acting, because it was everything for my own personal life, and it was so hard to share it. But I was like, you know what, this is hopefully going to help people, and that's why I started Period. I didn't want to do my own nonprofit. I wasn't about it just for to make myself look good. Like it was really just because I saw a problem and I wanted to help solve it.
Well, I applaud you for that because I felt it so deeply. It was like, wow. And like I said earlier, I really recommend everybody go in and have a look at that because it gives people a glimpse into how it is just for a moment, and to also know that we feel like that, and it comes for me. I'm not sure about in you too, but it comes in waves, and we have waves of feeling that level of intensity and emotion that moves through our bodies, not just for the week that a lot of other people I've spoken to around PMDD call Hell Week. It's not just one week. It's
No.
actually from your luteal phase to maybe for some of us a day or two after we bleed.
Yep.
Is it like
Yep.
that for you
Yep.
too? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I remember like I just shared a post recently. It was like a meme, a PM. I love my PMDD memes. Like the people that have the accounts are like, it's just gold. We
Yeah.
need that in Instagram. And it was like the day or two after your period when your estrogen finally rises, and it's like Cinderella going from the rags into this
Oh yeah.
beautiful princess, and it's like that is it, because you think as soon as the period's done, it's like, okay, you're counting down the days and you're like, ah, finally it's over. But it's like it really takes a couple of days for me to really start to feel like myself again. Yeah.
Um, I'd love to ask you. Yeah, this feels good right now. So, for me, I found that my PMDD, part of the gold in it for me is to really have expanded levels beyond of anything that I would ever have considered of self love, so that I can fully love, fully, completely, deeply love and accept myself in all of my seasons, in all of those times. And I'd love to know what some of your maybe rituals or maybe systems, or what have you got set up in place where you're able to yeah keep loving yourself as much as you would in the Cinderella moments as the was it the Cinderella? I mean, we're not even the ugly stepsister. We're like the ashes in the fire moments, right?
Honestly, yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I think that for me at least, I think self-love is a big part of it. You could be at a point in your life where you're just like, this is attacking me, this is my body sabotaging itself, and I think this past year has just been such a learning year for me, a growing a time for me as well. So I would say that, self-love, as well as making sure that I'm doing, so I do transcendental meditation. So that's like a big part of my everyday. I do that twice a day. I would say that that's a really big part of me being able just to handle everything that's going on in my life on top of PMDD. And I also am really big into supplements, definitely because of my dad. He has his own supplement store, as well as having his own practice. So for me, I'm like making sure I'm taking my Reloraplex. So that's like there's a bunch of different vitamins in it, but then there's also like Relora, which is like some sort of bark or something, but it's supposed to help like, really help like de-stress yourself and help with anxieties and all of that. So I'm taking magnesium, I'm taking, probiotics, making sure my gut health is good. And to also attribute to that, I had recently taken a food and allergy and sensitivity panel. So making sure that I'm eating foods that for my own body in specific I can tolerate and like won't mess up my gut. So it's kind of hard because it's like I have the self love and I'm like trying to like meditate and maybe try and do some like yoga poses and I love a good Bikram hot yoga, like
Me
count
too.
count count me for that. So but yeah, I would say it's also just really hard because you have all these cravings during your luteal phase, and at the same time you want to be eating foods that are good for your PMDD. So it's just it's a little exhausting at times, I would say, to try and keep up with everything because again, you're wanting to eat just McDonald's and it's like you should be having a salad with no salad dressing on it type of deal. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's definitely hard. It's a learning journey, absolutely. But I just recently had started yeah, TM at the TM practice and I think it's been really helping me. So
It's amazing. You're such an inspiration, darling. Thank you for
oh,
sharing
thank
all the
you.
colors. And there was some like really the gold in that was like transcendental meditation and really knowing yourself and the nutrition and the supplements. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I just am wondering one thing. I've only recently discovered the connection between PMDD and histamine food. Had you seen that connection in your studies before?
Yeah, so I haven't, so this is something new for me as well. Even when talking with my dad about it, he's again really knowledgeable about fertility and the women's cycle and all of that. But uh, with PMDD, it's just something that is just a lot of doctors just have no idea about. So for me, this is something recent that I've heard of, but I have actually been taking like a supplement for that, and I've seen a bit of a correlation, right? Like again, it's like is a correlation also a causation? But I think that a lot of women have spoken to it, and I think that it's something that I definitely want to learn more about. I think my entire life, almost like my motto in life is like I like I love to learn, right? And the more I learn, the more you're going to succeed in life. So it's definitely something I want to research more because I think that there's definitely that a connection there. I just have to, yeah, learn more about it.
Well, sweetheart, this has been such an inspiring chat, and just love to know a little more about how we can support period, and where you see or what you would like period to become in the near future because you've grown so fast so quickly. And yeah, I just love to touch on where you're going with this. Or is it taking you for the journey, not you taking it?
I think it's taken me for the
Yeah.
journey, to be quite honest. I mean, since moving to Scotland, and ever since doing this event called Action Accelerators Hackathon, an event that was taking place from a college organization that I was a part of, right? So a few years back. So it's just been absolutely insane working in a hackathon with all these other amazing initiatives that are trying to solve the sustainable development goals, and with period helping solve the number 5 and number 3, so that's the gender inequality or gender equality, and good health and well-being being the other. Oh my gosh, it's just been a crazy journey for me, like all this exposure and being featured on NASDAQ. I was like, I did not think at 23 years old I would be on NASDAQ, but okay. Like, so I just, yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and having people that have reached out to me saying, "Hey, I saw your content." And whether it's them or their roommate or whoever, it's like I think that they have PMDD, like you changed my life. And it's just like this. Oh, it's so big. So I think, sharing content, obviously follow. Instagram, I would say, is my biggest platform that I like to use day to day. And yeah, just kind of sharing those insights. I did a whole live series on functional medicine plus PMDD where I had my dad on there because he's really, really respected in his field. He's always going on all of these conferences post pre COVID, right? But so there's a lot of information that I'm wanting to share with people that follow, period. And yeah, I would say just even having conversations. We have a merchandise line as well, and that was designed with my friend Blake. She is amazing. All of these designs are custom tailored to kind of PMDD and kind of what our vision was for period. So definitely give that a look. We ship all over the world. So yeah, so I'd say just yeah, spreading that awareness, spreading all the wealth of information that I'm trying to provide for viewers. So yeah.
Thank you so, so much. It's just an absolute pleasure to chat with you and share. Like, yeah, you're just such, like I said, keep saying, an inspiration, and I adore you and I celebrate you. And yeah, we'll keep in touch. And I can't wait to share this out with the world. And like I said, I'll put all the links, and I encourage everybody to follow you and anyone with PMDD to, yeah, to go back into your old stories as well, because there is some really great information. And I've watched those interviews with you and your father, and he's a very wise man. So yeah, thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you so much. I've absolutely loved to meet you virtually as it is, right? But like this has been amazing, amazing opportunity. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done as well for the community. So yeah, thank you. I totally love chatting with you anytime.
I'm going to stop the recording, and don't hang up. Hang on a minute. Recording.